right, so now on to the NFC, and starting up with the NFC East. Now, I don't know if you would consider this a bold take, but probably one of my, maybe my favorite, if not top three favorite bets this season is the Cowboys over on their win total. I have them at 12-4, winning this division easily. I think this is an easy projection. I think the Cowboys have one of the best offenses and best rosters in the league. I like McCarthy in the first year to take them in, improve immediately off that 8-8 record, and make this team into not only a division winner, but a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have the Cowboys going 11-5. I have them being the second seed overall in the NFC. And I just love this roster, despite the fact that I dislike the Cowboys because their fans are so annoying on Twitter and everything, and all you hear is about the Cowboys. I look at this team, and it just, if I was a fan of them, I would be so excited. I'm a big Dak Prescott truther. I think he gets hated on for no reason because I think he showed last year that he's more than just a mobile quarterback. He has an arm. He's accurate. He can make big plays. I actually have him as a dark horse MVP candidate this year because I think their offense is going to be that good. The best wide receiver trio in the NFL, easily in my opinion. Amari Cooper is a true number one. Michael Gallup is an emerging star in this league. And then they added CeeDee Lamb, who just what a pick on draft day. They must have been jumping up and down in their front office when he was there at their pick, even though it wasn't even a guy they had projected because no one thought he'd be there when they picked. So that just completes a trio of weapons. Ezekiel Elliott, one of the best running backs in the NFL, still a tremendous O-line despite the loss of Travis Frederick to retirement. And I think the defense is going to be much improved from last year. I expect a better season from Leighton Vander Esch, which would be really key for them. Jalen Smith is one of the best young linebackers in the NFL. They lost Gerald McCoy, unfortunately, to injury, but the defensive line is still good enough to make plays. They also lost Byron Jones, but I think overall this team is just so talented that they're going to be ahead in games most of the time, and then they can just rely on Zeke to kill time in the second half and lead them to victories.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you agree on this because I would go into a heavy debate if you didn't. I really, really back the Cowboys this year. And that's just, when you look at them, it's like they might have had the best offseason in the league. Yeah. Like, we talk about how they won the draft. They just signed Everson Griffin. They did lose Byron Jones, which does hurt. But I think this team has more than enough juice to make up for that. And again, I think if you can get them at 9.5 wins, I think their absolute floor this season is 10. And I think they have a shot at 13-3, maybe better than any other team in the NFC this season. Yeah,
definitely. I picked the Cowboys to come out of the NFC this year. I think they'll make it to the Super Bowl. So that in itself shows how much confidence I have in them this year.
Yeah. All right, good. Good. I'm glad we're on the same page for that one. And overall, I think this division is a relatively easy projection from 1 to 4, with 2 being the Eagles because the Giants and Redskins, are still in that development phase. They don't have that playoff caliber quarterback and playoff caliber roster at this moment. The Eagles, their team has changed, but they're not too far off from that Super Bowl winning team that they had just a couple years ago. A healthy Carson Wentz does wonders, and if he can stay healthy this season, I have them at 9-7, and that's it with an injured Wentz baked into it. I could see them doing better, but I think that's, for their mean, I think they'll be around that total one way or another. You gotta love this offense with a young Miles Sanders, a young Jalen Reagor, proven vets in Jeffrey and Jackson, and though their O-line took a hit, it's still one of the better units in the league. And I mean, I feel like it's just I wouldn't go near their over-under total just because of, Wentz's injury history and the fact that I do think the Cowboys will take this division easily. But, I mean, you got to like the Eagles to be at least a 500 team this year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have them at, just like you, 9-7. I debated 9-7, 10-6. It's really hard to say with the Eagles. They definitely have the coaching and the talent to be a double-digit win team. But I just went a bit more conservative because, as you said, you never know with Carson Wentz's health. I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan. You know, I don't think even if Carson Wentz were to get injured, I don't think he's going to step in and be amazing, but he could step in and win them games against, you know, teams of average or worse talent than they are. I like their first round pick in Jalen Reagor. I know a lot of people were hating on them, saying, why wouldn't you take Justin Jefferson? Why wouldn't you try and move up for CeeDee Lamb? I think Jalen Reagor is going to be a perfect fit in this offense, and he's going to terrorize the NFC East for years to come. They also added one of our favorite guys in the league, Darius Slay, to a really poor secondary, so I think that's going to be a huge addition. And overall, you touched on Miles Sanders. I actually have him as my number one breakout candidate this year. I think he could produce a season similar to Dalvin Cook did last year for the Vikings, and if that's the case, he's going to be an absolute weapon for this offense, and he's going to carry them in a lot of games. So I like the Eagles. I think they have a lot of potential. I just don't think they're as good as the Cowboys, which is why I have them as the second seed in this division.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that the Eagles are going to finish between 8 and 10 wins. I'd be a little bit surprised if they went over or under that by, you know, more than one. I think that's a pretty fair projection for them. They could sneak into the playoffs as a wild card team. But I mean overall, yeah, you have to like Miles Sanders and everything he did last year, even with limited touches. I think they may have a superstar on their hands there, provided health stays up. But yeah, I mean, a healthy Eagles team, 10 wins isn't a stretch, 8 wins isn't a stretch. They're kind of an above average, middle of the pack team, and I think that's a safe bet.
Absolutely. All right, so moving on in third, I think this is pretty easy to pick too. Not a great team, but I think it's clear that the Giants are better than the Washington football team, which is why I have them in third. I have them at 5-11. What do you have them as before I get into them?
All right, so this is, I guess you could say, I don't know. I struggled with the Giants, and I'll get into why in a bit, but I have them at 7 and 9.
Okay. Interesting.
So yeah, I do see a little bit of improvement for the Giants, and that's mostly based off of just the general trajectory of this team. I mean, say what you will about Dave Gettleman, you know, I don't think any exec has ever gotten roasted on social media more than Dave Gettleman. But the Giants are slowly building a better team on paper. I mean, you have to like the additions of although he's injured, McKinney, James Bradbury, Logan Ryan to what was a weak secondary. Peppers looks like he's developed into a real solid starting safety. I think the defense is going to be a little bit better this year. And then, again, it's just a natural progression of us. Daniel Jones, you know, he had the fumbles last year, but I do think he's going to be a quality, at least an average starting quarterback in this league. I don't love Jason Garrett as the OC hire, but you know, a new head coach produces volatile outcomes. So I think the Giants could surprise a little bit and maybe get to 500. I think they have an equal chance of flopping once again, but you know, I do like the Giants to kind of take a step forward and be a little bit better, maybe challenge the Eagles a little bit more for second this year.
Interesting, yeah. You know, I don't think I'm as big as a believer in the Giants as you are. As you said, you were kind of conservative with what you were saying that they easily could be poor, but I don't see this team really taking a step up this year. I do like their off-season moves. I do think they have talent on the defensive side of the ball, definitely. I really like Jabril Peppers. The lack of pass rush really bothers me with this team. I'm not a Daniel Jones believer at all, and I just look at this team and see an overall poor roster when you put all the ingredients together. That's why I have them at 5-11. That's why I think they're going to be a poor team. I think they're nowhere close to the Cowboys or the Eagles in terms of contending. They could maybe split with the Eagles. But honestly, I see them losing all 4 games against those teams, which would definitely hurt. They're obviously better than Washington, but that's not saying much. But the roster as a whole just doesn't really give me faith. I don't think Joe Judge, or is it Joe Judge?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Judge is going to be a great coach. I don't know why. I don't really have any reasoning behind that. That's kind of just my intuition speaking. I just see this team kind of staying stagnant. And while I do think they made good draft picks, which is, I can't believe I'm saying, and good offseason moves, I just don't see much progression from them. So that's why I have them at 5-11.
Okay, fair. So a slight disagreement here is their win total is 6.
Yeah.
So I'm more leaning over, you're more leaning under. I wouldn't bet this win total at all. Again,
Me neither, yeah.
I am conservative in this. I'm not about to pound the table for this New York Giants team. But I do think they're at least capable of taking a step forward, and I do like the core that they're building up right now. Okay. So again, we both have football team at number 4. This is a clear transition year in both roster, coaching staff, and team name. None of that seems to be too set in place. I personally, again, I like Dwayne Haskins. I think Dwayne Haskins has underrated potential because he's on just an abysmal offensive team right now. He's kind of getting buried a little bit. I think Rivera is going to come in and make some culture changes. I don't know how much that'll translate in the wins column. You like their front 7, but that's pretty much all there is to like. I have them at 4-12. You know, if you want to put them a couple, like a win higher or a win lower, that's fine. I just, they're not really a competitive team that's going to do anything this year.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to add. I also have them going 4-12. It's just not a good team. They really, really didn't surround Dwayne Haskins with much. They're not giving him a chance to really kind of take another step in his game. And while I think he was very efficient and showed to be a good young decision maker last year, the fact that Steven Sims and I believe Kyle Quinn is their wide receiver 3. Scary Terry McLaurin showed last year. He's a beast, but they just don't have enough around Dwayne Haskins to produce. They're going to rely on Antonio Gibson and Bryce Love, I believe, at running back, which could be good, but again, young guys that you're really betting a lot on. So this just isn't a good team. 4-12 is an easy prediction for me.